Good morning, Calvert football. How you doing? And week one of the regular season is now on the books, and it's been a really great and fun ride so far. A lot of exciting things that have gone on, and I hope that you and your players are enjoying the process and being a part of what I believe is a very fundamental piece in developing young men and growing a community. So I do know, though, with that and the fact that the things that we try to do and using the game of football to help grow young people, the impact lives in the now and then for the future, is surrounded about the game and playing. And although I take today the practice that we have to be very sacred, because I know that me personally, I know that I am not guaranteed tomorrow, and so the moments that I get with our guys today are important to me. And I'd like to think that everybody else feels that way, and certainly I believe that we all do take the time to appreciate and value the day and whatever we have in front of us and what that looks like and what we can get out of it, no matter what our role or the context of what we're involved in is. But I know for the families and for the players, being able to play in the game is a pretty important, and it does show a culminating moment of all the hard work and effort that someone has put in to being able to be out there. And so I want to go over what that process looks like and talk about how maybe we can come to a consensus and understand what it looks like when playing time is determined and where a guy falls into the ranks of the depth chart, or where he falls in a position he may play. And so first and foremost, I know that you guys already understand, though, that in high school sports, no playing time is guaranteed. And yet that doesn't mean that anyone's role is less important or more important than another. However, I do know that for us to have a healthy culture and a good program, we need to be completely transparent, one, but then two, we also need to get our guys involved. I also know, not just for the sake of the individual who's playing, but for the sake and the integrity of our entire program, for us to stay healthy and strong, we want to get everybody on the field because it does help with competition. It does keep us fresh. It does keep us safe from injury. So, in the case that you notice as your son or, family member isn't on the field as much as you like, or not on the field at all, and there's a question of that. What does that look like? And here's the process that I would ask you guys to follow. All right, there's a lot of people on the outside that have opinions, but they're not here. They're not in our program. They don't know. And I can promise you that the steps that we take to get our kids ready to play in games is very thorough and intentional. We do have a program that does things maybe a little different than what you're experiencing. We have a lot of coaches. You could have seen that at any one of the games, and they all have an important value. We coach one side of the ball. So then that means that whoever's coaching a position in the blue games, be it a running back, defensive back, linebacker, line, offensive line, defensive line, they're also coaching the gold kids in the same way. Now, we don't do that together. Obviously, that doesn't work when you have differences in age and abilities from 9th to 12th grade, but we do have specific days in which we work the gold group in offense and the blue group in defense. And so the same coaches that are coaching offensive line with the gold group is coaching offensive line with the blue group. And so that's important because, it adds value to later on when we have to make decisions about helping the program out when it gets to playoff time or any time during the season when we're needing to replace a player because he's injured. We know that kid can come up and fill a role at least from the standpoint of understanding what we ask of our guys to do. Maybe not to the level and the speed of the game that's being played at the varsity level, but we know we can get that guy plugged in and allow him to help us to play. So that's the first foremost thing. And so there's a lot of continuity there. The second thing is that we want to see in our players the things that we can use on the field. So sometimes that means moving them to a different position where they can help themselves and help us out more. And so that means that sometimes we're moving people around, shaking things up. And that's going on a lot right now in the gold team because right now we have 12 guys who are on the varsity, the blue team, that are sophomores or freshmen. And obviously they belong up there. I mean, they helped us win last week in a great game. And that's really part of the developmental process. It doesn't exist like this in every program. And honestly, it doesn't exist always at Calvert High. But some years require us to do that over others. We need that number of people to run a successful practice by position groups. Could be the numbers are down. It could mean that maybe the ability in a certain group that we need to have to do the things we need to do in a game need to be there, so guys have to come up. And what that does is that causes a matriculation effect with the goal group, that maybe the talent or the people that we're looking for isn't there to do certain things. And so we have to move and shake and try to figure out where those pieces lie and how we can get the goal group to operate and move together. Now, the goal group is also a developmental group, and so what we think is a benefit to them is that when you move those guys up, then it opens up opportunities for more guys to get more playing time and fill in roles to grow and gain more experience as a player. Nevertheless, whether you talk about playing the games or not, every single player in our program not only enjoys the benefit of being connected to all of our great coaches, but they also enjoy the time with Cavalier time with Coach Berger, and also the student athlete academic support team time with our teachers after school. And again, the experience of trying to run a healthy program where we all connect and really truly develop a bond and a brotherhood, which in the end is probably more important that exists and happens through the game of football than anything else. So that's that. The second thing is that, players need to understand that one, there's a lot of layers to go out there and play, and we want our players to go out there not just help us be successful in a game that we can play in and possibly win or lose, but to play to our best ability. And then sometimes playing other teams that got great amount of talent and ability and experience, the chips may not be stacked in our favor, and in the end we may not win the game on the scoreboard, but we could have played to our highest level possible in that moment. And that's really all we can ever ask of our kids and our coaches and the program. All right, but when the coaches try to put together a lineup and a depth chart of guys out there, they got to make sure that the guys go out there, they're able to do the things we ask them to do in a way that helps us be successful and safe. I emphasize the word safe. A lot of times you get young men who are experienced in football and they're not ready. They don't understand things. Maybe they're confused. And so consequently it causes them to operate or act a little slower in the field. And then when that happens, they may not come off the ball, and they may be playing someone maybe a little more aggressive. That puts them at risk. That puts the other players around them at risk. That's important. We don't feel like there's any place that you really, quote unquote, can hide a guy when you're talking about high school football, because just as you can see when you're playing other teams, especially when the score is up or down, other players are going out there trying to earn their spots from other teams. And so they're going to be aggressive and go hard. So that's one. Second thing is, being at practice. It's hard for us to evaluate players, and it's hard for us to develop players if they're not at practice consistently. And they could be at practice, but they may not be participating because they're injured, or they may not step up because they're in the back. We're not going to always take a kid by the arm and put them into a drill unless, they want it. And we have to read their body language and look at players and understand whether or not they're actually trying to go out there, or they're maybe a little intimidated to go out there. And from those things, we have to make decisions on whether or not, they're here and want to be a part of this program and are a great teammate, but they may not be quite ready to jump in and be a part of the game that requires a lot of physicality. If a kid's physical and he's willing to work at things, we can get them ready to go. In a lot of different ways, and we'll find a way to get on the field. I've always told parents and kids that if you're physical, you're willing to work at it and learn what we're asking you to do, there's a way that you can get on the field. Now, excuse me, there are players, we all know this, we are all in the same world, that are gifted to do things easier than others. We all have that. It doesn't matter if it's football or a job or whatever, classroom. We're not all gifted to do the same things. So there are players who may naturally have aggression or physicality as part of their DNA. They also may have certain athletic tools that make them a little faster, maybe a little bit bigger, that they can make a mistake and yet still be put in the right place and make a play and make something happen. It doesn't mean that we don't correct them. It just means that they go out there, and in the process they're learning how to grow and become a better player, building into the context of what we're trying to ask us, the team, to do as a group, as a unit, for us to be most successful. They get it. And there's others where, you know what, they may not be as big, they may not be as strong, they may not be as fast, they may not be as physical, but when they're out there, they're going to have to be perfect in other ways. They're going to have to make up for those things by knowing exactly where to go, taking the right steps, and then going out there and getting better at that. And I think that eventually, especially in certain positions, because there's so many different characteristics that make up each position on the field, that they can find a way on the field. So if any end that any parent or guardian or player feels like, okay, I've done these things and I don't quite understand why I'm not on the field, we ask you to take these steps, and this is important. First off, not that this is part of the steps, but this is always open. We encourage our family members to be a part of our practice, and that means that our practices are wide open. And so please feel free to come on up and watch any part of practice that you want to come up and watch. Learn, ask questions. When we're coming off the field as coaches, what's going on, why is that? Being a part of that is important, because honestly, a lot of development and the growth and a lot of the cool things that I think are shared with your players happens at practices and not at the games. So you can see firsthand, how your players are interacting, how our coaches interact with your player, how things happen in Calvert football, that I think makes it a pretty special experience for your young men and how they interact and enjoy. But beyond that, if your young man is concerned about his playing time or not understanding why he's not on the field as much, please encourage him to go to his position coach. We make mistakes. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes we miss. This past weekend was an example of that, where we were short on coaches. They were sick, and we didn't feel that it was beneficial for them to be around and possibly get other people sick. And it meant that there was a greater strain for us to help facilitate the personnel changes throughout the game. We made some mistakes in that, where we had too many guys on the field at certain points. And that's on us as coaches. I know that it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense with the number of coaches we have, but we do get in our lane, which allows us to focus on our position groups and focus only on them. And then what happens is, when we're having to help out a coach who couldn't be there, then now it's a little unique. It's different, especially in the first game, and you haven't worked those things out. So get with the position coach, have him talk to position coach, and let's sit down and talk it out. And I can tell you, man for man, our position coaches, we're going to be very thorough in talking about the expectations and needs for that player to be on the field. Trust me, it's there. Secondly, if that doesn't get the results that we want, or if you want to skip step 1 and go to step 2, then certainly we would invite you as a parent and your son to join us and have a meeting, and let's talk it out there too. It's not a problem. We can do that and talk it out so we're all on the same page. Because maybe as a parent, you'd like to do some things on the side to help your son get more prepared. All those things we are more than willing to help. All right, so that's step number 2. And I think that in any one of those steps, you'll find a happy medium and things will improve. Because what happens is, I think that we're all very transparent in understanding what we're trying to do to help your kid get on the field. But more importantly, the process is understood, and the role that your son can play in our program is now completely and clearly understood as well. So please take advantage of those things. It's something that we find is very important. Sometimes, obviously, for any one of us, you and us, it takes time and energy and effort, but your kid is worth it. I know they're not my kid, they're yours, but I promise you that we take them in as they're ours throughout this, time that they're here at Calvert football. So please take advantage of those things. Don't lean on the social media work or the people on the outside who don't quite get what we do here. Please don't lean on your prior experiences and just come to us and ask and talk to us, and we can work it out. Please. But nevertheless, in between there, we ask that you guys just continue to be as supportive as you have been to us so far and to our kids. We are trying to do our best. We love your kids more than just football players, because I know at the end of the day, these young men may play 80 hours worth of football games in a lifetime here at Calvert High School. That's not even 4 days of their life. They're going to be fathers. They're going to be husbands. They're certainly sons right now. And those things are more valuable to us than any of the other things you can talk about when it comes to playing the game football that I do love. And I do know that we wouldn't be talking about the benefits of football if it wasn't for football. And so bringing these guys in is something that we want to do, and we want everybody to have an enjoyable experience. And so if this helps you and your son have a better experience, by all means, reach out and connect with us. I appreciate your time. I love you guys. Thank you for all you guys are doing, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I'm Coach Sneed, and I'm out. Boom.